Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And it's a cold day for us. It's in the low 50s. And it's 9:13 in the morning, and we're on December 2nd. And the Syria thing, which we're going to cover today, is become amazing. It's what's going on is amazing. It's such great progress so fast. And it looks like now either the Americans or the Israelis got involved in the war, and I'll explain in a minute. As you know, with Jeremiah 30:11 and Jeremiah 46 verse 28, which are very similar to each other, I was a little stumped because I didn't understand how the destructions of the nations that the Lord scattered the Israelites into would be affected in Central and South America and the Caribbean and other places. And I sought the Lord on this, and I got the answer this morning in the scriptures, so I'll go through that with you later. But being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Now, mind you, I got outside this morning, it's 50 degrees. A lot of times I stay outside when it's 90. That's a 40-degree spread. So for us, it's cold weather. Okay? All right. So let's talk a little bit about the Hezbollah, the ceasefire. Okay? Basically, Israel troops are still in southern Lebanon. Every time they see Hezbollah people trying to get some type of an attack going, they hit them with drones, artillery, or from jets, bombs, or whatever. They destroy them, okay? And it happens every day. But there's no big concerted effort. The UNFIL troops are worthless. You forget them. And there's the Lebanese army, the regular army, is proving to be rather worthless. I think they're a combination of gross incompetence, lackadaisical, do-nothing military and national leaders, and they're significantly afraid of Hezbollah killing them and their families and everything else. So they've elected to do nothing. So Israel is doing it. And for us here in Israel, it's a ceasefire. We're not getting attacks. Yemen tried a single missile attack the other day, got knocked down, and we get a drone attack over the Mediterranean, which was maybe Iraq or something. It gets knocked down. There's very little of anything happening here. 4 people got injured, I think, a day or two ago, running to the bomb shelters. They fell or something, and this happens periodically. So, in terms of what's going on is Israel's enforcing the ceasefire. And since we've got Hezbollah relatively deactivated now, it may continue past the 60 days. But of course, we got to see what happens when Trump gets inaugurated, if things make it that far. Okay, that's what's happening in Syria. Well, yesterday or last night, maybe, or late in the day or whatever, the rebels took over Bashar Assad's palace in Damascus. They broke in, and now they're occupying it. It's their palace. It's amazing. What are we, 4 days or so into it, and they got his palace? Do you understand? Let me put it in perspective. This is the same thing as if some foreign army came into America and took over the White House, and the soldiers are living there, putting their feet on Biden's desk, the stuff like that. Okay, do you get it? All right. Bashar Assad has another do-nothing army, 300,000, and they're professional evacuators. You know, their famous words in Arabic are probably fall back, retreat, retreat. The rebel groups, which are diversified but grouped together, you have an Al Qaeda thing going on, you have ISIS, you have other groups. There's a group backed by America, I think they're Kurds, and what happened with them yesterday is, I'm telling you, nothing short of amazing. The rebel groups were displaced the Kurds and caused them to retreat out of some area other than northeast Syria. And they went to him in a very humbling, apologetic way. I read the letter, or the translation thereof. And they said, listen, we're here to fight Bashar Assad. We're not here to fight you. We don't want to fight you, okay? We guarantee you safe passage. Go back to your areas, and I think it's northeastern Syria, and stay there. And we promise you you'll be safe. And we further promise you that when we take over Syria, you'll have a righteous place in the country. We will recognize you, and you'll have a region and everything else officially. So I believe the Kurds went for it. So they're not having a fight with the rebels. And I've told you before, I don't have any biblical evidence for this, but by looking at the Kurds, they sure look Jewish to me, a lot of them. I grew up in a neighborhood in the Bronx that was about 99.99% Jewish. And they look like people I knew in the Bronx, okay? Take it from there. Can I guarantee you that's what it is? No, I can't. Do I think it's a good possibility? Yeah, I do. Especially now they've gotten preserved. Interesting, huh? So let's get into it a little bit deeper, because this is World War III-ish, maybe, okay? And I'll explain it. Yesterday, late in the day or the evening, 8 convoys were coming into Syria from Iraq. These were military reinforcements, so they're soldiers, and of course with, food and bullets and stuff like that, right? 8 convoys, not 8 trucks. Convoys. It was a massive amount of soldiers coming to help Bashar Assad. Now, this is where the news right now is conflicted, and I will explain it to you, the conflict. Did it happen? Oh, yeah. What the conflict is who did it. Did the UK do it? No, that's sort of off the table. Did NATO do it? Off the table. All right. So it boils down to America and or Israel. Now, the early reports were saying they don't know who. Now, there's a guy I follow on social media that's some kind of Orthodox Israeli, and he speaks fluent Arabic, and he goes through a lot of Arabic social media, okay? The guy has a habit when it comes to facts of being highly accurate, okay? When it comes to analysis, I mean, he was telling the people for many, many months that, Hezbollah is going to shoot 3,000 missiles a day and wipe us out. He's pessimistic. He doesn't know the Bible. He's a Talmud guy. and stuff like this. He's not a believer, but when it comes to factual information, he's very, very reliable. Okay, he digs deep into Arab media. Okay, and he said that it was the Americans that attacked these 8 convoys, where what we were hearing was unknown jets. In other words, the country of origin of the jets was not known. So I'm going to kind of lean heavily to the tune of about 90% with him. It was American jets that did it. Okay? Why would America do this? One big reason is they're scared about their many military bases in Syria, and there's also a UK base or 2 there. And they didn't want, a convoy could be, let's analyze this, it could be 10 trucks, that's not a convoy. 50, 100 trucks, yeah, 100 trucks is a convoy. So it could have been 600, 800, 1,200 trucks full of soldiers. There's a big army coming in, right? Now, he says they were Iranian soldiers. He's pretty good, this guy. The general media was saying, probably based on speculation, that it was Iran-backed militias in Iraq. Could have been a mix, but this guy is very accurate on facts. If he doesn't have good facts, he doesn't publish. Okay? Now, maybe he goes around on social media sites and chats with them in Arabic and engages them in conversations, making them think he's a Muslim, and he could be using a proxy server from another country that's Arabic, like Saudi or Jordan or Syria or who knows what, right? So it appears right now, and I can't give you a written guarantee, it's probably 90%, at least 80%, I'd go with this, that America bombed the convoy of Iranian soldiers, 8 convoys of Iranian soldiers coming in to Syria. Now that would have probably taken 12 jets, maybe 20. Now Iran's going to start wondering where the jets came from. They didn't come from Israel. America doesn't put the jets here. So where the heck did they come from? Saudi Arabia? Possible, but unlikely. Oman? Forget that. UAE? Forget that. Kuwait? Bahrain? Forget that. Well, Bahrain maybe. Qatar, no. What about Jordan? Bingo! That would be the closest and the most logical, and they have a lot of aircraft assets in Jordan. And it's a very fast flight to Syria. It would take a few minutes maximum, so the surprise element would be in place. They'd take off and just haul with the afterburners on, and maybe a minute or so, the minute and a half, 2 minutes, they're there. Iran's radar is down right now, so they might not have known unless Russia found a way to reveal it. But let's say Russia picked it up. By the time the Russians, some guy sitting on the radio, the radar screen, a sergeant or something, sees something, then he calls a lieutenant or a captain that's in the room with the radar screens and says, "Look at this." And the guy stares and looks at it, and then he calls the colonel in charge, and then the colonel calls the general, and then the general goes to somebody else, and they decide to call Iran, and by the time they get anybody in Iran, even way before then, the mission's finished, it's over, the convoy's destroyed. So it would mean that doing it from Jordan would make the most sense, or Bahrain. Either one. Probably Jordan, but I don't know for sure. Now, the Iranians are very quickly, if not already, figure out that it was the Americans. And what can Iran do? Not much. They could squawk, you know. And they'll make threats. Putin makes threats too, doesn't he? Does he pull through on his threats? Where? I would expect most people stop listening to Putin and his threats by now. It's reached the theater of the absurd, you know. The guy threatens everybody over everything every day. So who's listening anymore? You know? It's like Iran threats, you know, ridiculous. The Houthis are saying they fired missiles at American warships down in their area, the Red Sea, I guess. Yesterday I'm hearing it, but it's coming from Muslim pro-terrorist media, and it's 20% reliable, so I really don't know if it happened. I doubt it. I didn't hear anything about it. It's just, see, if the Houthis fire a missile at an American ship, once they push the launch button, we hit an American ship. We fired at an American ship. The missile never hits them. But, oh, we fired. You see, if they push the launch button at the target, they say that they talk as if they hit the target. It's ridiculous, you know. They probably don't even know if they hit the target. All right. So, if the Americans really did blow up 8 convoys of Iranian soldiers, this is big. Because now America is stepping out from behind the wraps. They're out in the open. They're killing IRGC soldiers. The day before, I told you Iran is saying they were sending IRGC soldiers to help Syria, Bashar Assad. So it probably was IRGC soldiers, and it probably was Americans that took them out. I don't know if Netanyahu would get into such a bold move. Okay, I don't know. It was, you know, I mean, 8 convoys, not 8 trucks. 8 trucks would be, let's say, 25 in a truck max. You know, 200 soldiers, that's nothing. You understand? 8 convoys. Let me take a look at the live stream and dump the trolls, and then we'll pick it up again. I'm not going to take a long time, but they come in here and they say vile things, and you know. Let me take a look at the live stream. I want to make sure I get rid of them if they're here. Lebanon can't defend against Hezbollah. They don't want to try. If they wanted to try and they started going to Biden and begging for weapons and intelligence information, they'd get it. Send us special advisors, you know, Green Berets and stuff. They'd get it. They don't want to. So they're paying the price. And Israel is basically enjoying a ceasefire. South Lebanon is basically, and the rest of Lebanon enjoying a ceasefire, except where the Hezbollah go in South Lebanon, which is usually near the border, and that's an evacuated region. So Netanyahu is going to continue doing this. Why? Because he gets to keep attacking Hezbollah and Hezbollah assets, and they're not attacking us. So it's nice here in Israel for a while, like 14 months of chaos, and now it's kind of relaxed. You know, it became a way of life here in the Iron Dome. Explosions taking down missiles. Then you learn the difference between the impact explosion of a missile or a big drone and the Iron Dome. I hope you don't have to go through that education. It wasn't fun. So could we get into a World War III over Syria? Well, let's dissect it a little bit more. Russia blew up 300 of the rebels, I think yesterday, earlier, or it could have been 48 hours ago. But I think it was yesterday, with their jets. Now, the rebels and they got rid of the rebel leader. He died. They've got to learn a lesson, and I think they did. And that lesson is, if you're going to have a meeting with a lot of your people, you better make sure nobody knows about it. It was very stupid what they did, okay? The rebels are, to a good extent now, hunkering down. They're holding, the last count, which is at least a day old, 70 cities and towns and villages they took over, including the second largest city in Syria, Aleppo. And they're active in Damascus, as evidenced by occupying Bashar Assad's palace. So Syria is losing badly. Iran's reinforcement idea fell flat on its face. The rebels have made peace with the Kurds. The Kurds are saying they want to kill Bashar Assad and give us more of a recognition in Syria and our own territory. Oh, heck, we'll go for that. America in northeastern Syria has a lot of bases, and they're occupying the oil fields there, which they've given to American companies. So they hijacked or confiscated Bashar Assad's oil. Follow the money trail, follow the oil trail. So they don't want to give that up. I would expect the oil companies that are profiting off of that are, let's use words like, showing their gratitude to the Biden administration people. Did you get my drift? There's people on the internet writing stories what Trump's going to do in his first 100 days in office. If you want to waste your time, watch cartoons on TV. Nobody knows if he's ever going to get inaugurated, if there ever is a country left to inaugurate, to get, to be president of. And with all these wars brewing, who the heck knows what Trump's going to be facing 2 months roughly from now? We don't know. You don't know, they don't know. That's clickbait, or they don't know any better. Don't waste your time with reading stuff like that. It's nearly impossible to figure out. Things are moving so fast. A week ago, would you ever consider what happened in Syria was real? Now, I have a subscriber who did a careful analysis on this and came to a reasonably decent conclusion that this is some sort of a put-up job. And there's a degree, a reasonably decent degree of intelligence behind this. I believe that Satan got frustrated with Bashar Assad and his regime because they would do precious little against Israel. Okay. They had Russia there, they had Iran there, and they still were scared and do precious little against Israel. So I think Satan said, we got to get rid of this guy. Now, the different countries, look, Satan's the god of this age. And the age is still ongoing, and every country in the world is under him, or he would get rid of them. So Bashar Assad was too timid. How many times did he travel to Moscow to meet with Putin? I mean, he's too scared to do anything. So Satan riled up the rebels, got other countries to help, like America, and get rid of Bashar Assad, and then fill the place up with way more monstrous, criminally insane rebels. That once they took over the country and were seated, what they have to do immediately is rout out any resistance from Bashar Assad's people, which is probably next to non-existent, and take control. What do I mean? They got to get control. Their people would control the electricity, control the water, the roads, the highways, the sewers, the health, the hospitals, the pharmacies, the food supply, the ports, the piers, the airports. They got to have all their people overseeing and running these things to stay in power. And they know things like that. Okay? And they got to disband the military and take the military bases and weapons over, whatever they can salvage. And they got to get Iran out of there, the IRGC out of there, the Iranian-backed militias out of there, and they got to get the Russians out of there. And who else do they have to get out of there? Not the Americans. The Americans appear to be in on it with them. And so is Israel. Getting rid of Bashar, the way Netanyahu and the leaders of Israel will normally think, is getting rid of Bashar Assad, who's friendly with Iran and Russia, is a good thing. It makes us more secure, and then the Iranian-backed militia rebel types in Syria will be abolished, killed, or run out of the country. And they might be persuaded to leave Israel alone, but not for long. So their plan would be to, get seated, run the government, build it up again under them, and then, which could take 6 months, a year, 18 months, and then start up with Israel. Okay? It's prophetically probably never going to come to pass, and they're probably going to wreck the country. Okay? That's what I think will happen. I cannot find, and I've looked more than once, any information on the internet that says how large these rebel forces are now. I can't find anything. I don't know if they're 50,000 or 400,000. I have no idea. Somebody's keeping that out of the internet. We don't know. That's very odd. Very odd. So the next big question is, how is Russia going to save Bashar Assad? Or is he going to save Bashar Assad? The way he would save Bashar Assad is very immediately send a large ground force over there. Just flying around with a bunch of fighter jets isn't going to cut it. Okay? The rebel forces are hunkered down in the geography that they've taken over, which means human hostages, basically. They set up next to residential houses, stores, shopping areas, mosques, hospitals, schools, all of that. Putin doesn't care. he'll attack anyway and blow them up. Nobody's going to do anything to Putin. There's supposedly 15 to 20,000 churchianity people in Syria, and there's concerns as to what happens to them because the rebels could do several things. Let's cover it. One is they could say to them, for public relations reasons, their smartest move is stay out of the fight, we're not going to hurt you. When it's over, you could still have your churches and stuff like that. This is very, very un-Muslim-like for these Shia terrorists, so it would probably be a lie. Or they might tell them that the best thing is for you to leave the country. That way they're going to catch heat, but it's not going to be too much. The more likely ISIS, Al-Qaeda type of thing they might do is genocide the Christians. This goes on in Nigeria and other countries. In other words, go around and kill them with machine guns. Okay? That is probable. America would try to keep that from happening, or not. If you want a world war, you let it happen. Then you're going to have a massive amount of countries screaming bloody murder. If they, kill thousands of churchianity people, you're going to see a major blow up. The rebels know that, so they might not want that. So, but they're going to do something. Now, these rebels are going around knocking, destroying the religious relic, artifacts, monuments, stuff for the Shiite or the Shia Muslims over there. They're destroying their stuff. They're destroying anything where they're supporting Bashar Assad, or Russia, or Iran. And they're saying they're coming to Iraq and they're coming to Iran. Now, if they're coming to Iran, I have a strong feeling the Taliban in Afghanistan, next door to Iran to the east, is going to join them. I think they'll join them. Just like out of left field, you saw an attack on Syria. You'll probably see this on Iraq, and you'll probably see it on Iran. And the enemies that are going to destroy Elam in Jeremiah 49, which is Iran, Iraq, and Syria, Elam, E-L-A-M, are maybe not so much Israel and America and the UK and NATO, but way, way more these the Sunni, the people taking over Syria are Sunni, but they're radical, horrible, psychopathic Sunnis. They may be the ones to do it. And I haven't been able to put the pieces together as to where they're going to come from and everything like that. I don't know yet. And it looks like they may be the ones. Or Iran does something stupid and America decides they want to bomb Iran. And that could also happen. Why would somebody put in Trump or Kamala? It's like a stupid comment, Doesn't that person know that Kamala's not elected, I don't know. So Biden pardoned Hunter Biden. A few months ago he said he wouldn't pardon Hunter Biden, and he did. I read the thing, it's done. He pardoned him for anything and everything from the year 2014 to 2024. So even though Hunter Biden pled guilty and was going to be sentenced in a little while for his federal gun charges. Now that he's pardoned, those charges he pled guilty to are null and void. He's no longer a felon. He could go to a gun store and buy a gun and everything like that. His sentencing will never happen in all of this. Trump's criticizing Biden about this. Of course Trump would. But I also told you that if Trump still had the criminal charges over his head, he might pardon himself. He still has those New York State charges from the New York City court, where he was sentenced to 30-something or 40-something low-level felonies. He was convicted, but not sentenced. And they said they suspended the sentence indefinitely. But they didn't dismiss it. They didn't vacate the judgment against him. They still there. So they could one day just pop up and say, President Trump has to report for sentencing next month. You see what I'm saying? Suspending it indefinitely is a sword over Trump's head. So Trump's going to have to undo that. What are the chances of him being able to undo that if he gets sworn in and all of that? Oh, 99.9%. He'll probably threaten to bring charges against the people that did it relating to the case, and then throw the case out based on, some corruption aspect to what they did, political interference or something, I don't know. So they're playing it coy, and Trump's lawyers know that, and that's going to go away. If he ever gets sworn in and if time allows. So, Russia is more than unlikely to do anything much more in Syria, perhaps bring some more aircraft, another 10 or something like that, or 5, I don't know, and keep attacking the rebels by air. And the remedy for that is the rebels will keep attacking his air bases, which he's closed several, and they'll eventually make it that he has no air base, but that may not stop him, because he can launch long-range bombers, and they could bomb targets and then come back. The counter to that would be America would have to put sophisticated anti-aircraft weapons into Syria in the hands of the rebels that took over. And I'm not so sure that America's going to do that. So, I mean, are we going to see, Putin send, let's say, 3,000 special forces soldiers to come to Syria and secure Bashar Assad's palace? Sorry, palace is already occupied. How about his command centers and government buildings? It wouldn't do much. You're going to dent it if you're talking 25,000 soldiers. You could protect a couple of places with that. But to really get into it, he'd have to send an army of about 100,000 soldiers. And with that, he would do well to send 300 to 500 tanks, 40 or 50 helicopters, another 25 jets, bombers, and then armored personnel carriers, towed artillery, mobile artillery, rocket pod launchers, missiles, surface to surface, and all sorts of stuff. Is Putin positioned to do that? No. Is there a high probability Putin would do anything like this? Very low probability. Would NATO love it if Putin did send 100,000 soldiers and all the equipment? Oh, they'd be tickled pink. Putin's getting his military spread out. He's wearing down his weapons resources. He's taking casualties. And he's not fighting on NATO territory. They don't give a hoot about Syria. They just don't want anybody messing around with the oil fields in northeast Syria. How would Russia send troops to Syria? Well, there's basically a few ways. One is a march, forget that. Second is convoys from Russia, forget that. The realistic options are put them on troop carrier ships and float them over to the Middle East and offload them like in Latakia or something like that. That would take how long? Well, you'd have to figure at least a week, if not 2 or 3, to assemble the troops, give orders, get supplies and everything ready. And then they'd probably be on the boat another week, and then when they land, another few days till they go into action. So it'd probably run 3 weeks as a minimum. Guess what? It's over by then. Could he airlift troops in? Yeah, the Americans have these great big cargo planes they can put temporary seats in and carry about 300 paratroopers. So if Putin flew 10 of these planes, okay, he'd get 3,000 soldiers in, which would be a little bit helpful for Bashar Assad to hold Damascus, but not very helpful. If he sent 25,000 soldiers to hold Damascus with equipment, it would be a success, I would think. %, of my screen is unused. Yeah, because you got to do it vertical. If you don't do it vertical, YouTube doesn't position you great in the search results. So I tried the horizontal, and the amount of views I get plummets. So they want this because a tremendous amount of people watch on the phones, and the vertical lends itself to the phones. That's the reality of this. I can't help it. So let's just run some numbers. I'll open up a calculator. So if we're going to do, let's say, 25,000 troops, and we divide it by, let's just use the number 300 for an airdrop, that comes to 83 flights. And then you'd probably need another 30 or 40 flights for equipment at least. So it's probably about 150 flights. Could Putin do that? Yeah. Do we think Putin's going to do it? No, because 25,000 soldiers is just going to help him hold a large city like Damascus, and maybe he could put a few. Well, how can he hold his Navy base in Latakia and his air base in Latakia? He'd have to put several, like if he put, 3,000 to 5,000 troops around there, and they had artillery and, short-range missile pod launchers, mortars, squad machine guns, armored personnel carriers, surface-to-surface missiles, and a lot of tanks and stuff. They would be able to hold out reasonably well, but they would be surrounded and cut off. And he would be launching planes to bomb their surrounding positions. It would make life difficult for the rebels, but they would prevail. If you put, 3,000 to 5,000 troops in, it would take them a week or two, and they'd wear them out and get them. Because they have missile launchers, they have tanks, it wouldn't work. Putin's got to send a colossal amount of soldiers over there to prevail. Bashar Assad's army is 300,000 and they're running away. So I don't know how big the rebels are, but they're big. Now let's run the numbers on the 8 convoys just to fool around with it and see if we can get a feel for what Iran was sending, okay? Not that we're going to be accurate. Let's assume 100 trucks. 100 trucks, and let's go 25 a truck. You got 2,500 per convoy. 2,500 times 8. 20,000. Yeah, that's a realistic figure to start to turn the tide of things. They could probably, a bulk of them would go over to Damascus. They would try to hold locations and then send more troops in and storm the rebel positions. We haven't seen Iran fight a real war, have we? Not in a long time. Let alone against a bunch of rebels that are as bloodthirsty as they are, that are backed by the likes of America, Turkey, and Israel. That's a tall order. So I would say they would try to send 25,000 soldiers in. See, when you're holding a city, or a town or a village, the enemy has to outnumber you 3-1. That's standard military war college junk, okay? So if they're holding Aleppo with, I don't know how many, 10, 15,000, you got to triple it to attack it. And when you attack it, you're going to decimate the city. The city's going to get destroyed. Civilians will have to leave their homes. They'll have no houses to come back to. The phones will go, the cell towers, the water lines will go, the sewage will go, the traffic lights, the electrical grid, the roads will get blown up, buildings will collapse. People will be trapped in the collapse and they may never get them, or they may get them. Hospitals will be overrun and probably hit. And, basically it's going to be like Gaza, a wasteland. But we know it says Damascus shall be a ruinous heap, and I think we'll see that fulfilled. Because the rebels are going to want to get Damascus just like Russia wants to get Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. They want to get the capital of Damascus, of Syria. And they already got the palace. So they got the White House of Syria. And now they want to get like the Congress and, stuff like that. And I think they're well on their way. They have the element of surprise. They're well established, and now they're digging in. That makes me think they're waiting for more reinforcements to come. Other rebel groups around the Middle East will say, or maybe from other places, will say, wow, look at them. And they'll say, well, come join us, and you'll, when we take over Syria, you'll get paid back. You'll get land or houses or whatever they're going to promise them. They'll promise them. So they'll probably start picking up more and more fighters in bulk. The best move for Russia is he could take some long-range bombers and continually fly over Syria and drop large amounts of bombs every day. That will not win the war. That will make life difficult. But they will prevail. The only thing Russia can really do to stop this kind of a thing is, one, they could drop 18,000 bombs on Syria and destroy most of the cities, so there's nothing left. I don't think he's going to bother doing that. What for? The other thing he could do is he could go and keep bombing the rebel positions, and all that's going to do is get them madder, slow them down a little bit, and they're going to try to just put an end to Bashar Assad quicker, so then Russia gives up the ghost and just stops doing it. Russia's not bringing soldiers in. Let's say he did, though. Would America attack the soldiers? That's $1 million question, isn't it? Probably not. According to what's going on in the world today, probably not. But what they would do is give the rebels lots of weapons. Okay? Short-range missiles, maybe not so short-range. Artillery, good artillery. Lots of reconnaissance information, when the Russian planes are coming, where the troops are. Communications equipment, small arms, anti-tank missiles that would blow Putin's tanks to smithereens. Then probably give them some type of anti-aircraft missiles. They already confiscated one Panzer anti-aircraft system from Syria, but I don't know if they know how to use it. It's not going to be a hindrance. If they had, 15 or 20 anti-aircraft systems, then Putin's bombers are not stealthy, and they would be in danger of flying over there. So that's what I think America's response would be: more weapons coming to them, like with Ukraine. That would be what I think. Again, though, they're confiscating weapons from Putin, so they're not doing so bad there. From Putin, from Bashar Assad. Okay? So let me see if I have any questions about that. So could it go to World War? It would go to World War level if Iran kept trying to bring soldiers in and started threatening America and saying, if you stop our soldiers, we're going to destroy your bases, and actually start to destroy the bases. Just threatening it is not going to make anybody at the Pentagon very concerned. Russia and Iran threaten all the time. Yeah. But if they actually start attacking the bases with ferocity, yeah. Russia bringing troops in could initiate, likely, the 100,000 NATO troops going into Ukraine, tit for tat. It could very likely be that. Why? To send a real contingent, you'd need about 100,000 soldiers in Syria to do this. And the Russian soldiers are good, they're not that good. Their special forces, Spetsnaz, are good, but there are not that many of them, and Putin's not going to send them, I don't think. He wants to save them to protect Russia, so the Kremlin doesn't get overrun, and they don't overrun his palaces and take him outside, put a rope around his neck, and lynch him up over a street lamp, So Putin ain't doing that, but that would be the tit for tat, I think, on that. They would tell Putin, what the heck are you doing that for? Oh, I got a defense treaty with Syria, I gotta go. And they'll say, yeah, well, we got a defense treaty with Ukraine, so we're doing the same thing. And then NATO troops move in, and then Putin loses Ukraine. So that would be the likely start of a big war. If Iran, one way or the other, if Iran and Russia try a joint concerted at the same time effort, then it'll get more serious. Now, would North Korea and China want to get into this? Why? What's in it for them? Not much. Not much. There's not much in it for them. There's not much point. But we're in end times. We don't know what's going to happen. And you got to watch, just like this was a surprise, you're going to see a lot more surprises coming. And you just got to, do what Yeshua said is watch. Okay? If anyone wants to put questions up in the chat, you certainly can. My spiritual warfare seems to be working on the chat. Okay, so Israel would likely also attack if Iranian troops were coming in. Not so much Russian troops, Iranian troops. Because they know once the Iranian troops come in, they're not leaving. So Israel wouldn't put up with that. I don't think any more troop convoys are coming in by truck. They realized that was stupid. They're not going to bring them in by sea. So I don't know what's next. Airlifts, I don't know. But I'll tell you what the rebels are going to do next. They're going to knock out more Iranian bases, facilities, and capture more and more weapons and equipment and intel in Syria that pertains to Iran, that Iran was behind. Knock over more Syrian military posts, installations, storage facilities, and take over more airports and piers and ports, and block Russia's Mediterranean port by destruction, probably, or else occupying it. Their smartest and safest move right now is to run the bases pertaining to Iran and Russia out of Syria so the Russians and Iranians have no place to set up shop. And they know that. So I will be watching this constantly, and I update on Telegram constantly on this. And if we see some big events, I'll do unusual live streams, even multiple times a day. In the past, I've done 5, 6. Usually they're shorts, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. But I will do that as things go on. I don't really see much of a threat to Israel anytime soon with this. Just not seeing it. Don't see it. Okay. Let's go into. Let me check my notes and see what I left out first. So I was up early this morning taking notes and. Oh, prayer request. Okay. For RG, Romeo Girl. RG, Romeo Girl, RG. Pray for healing, a cough, and a headache. RG, healing for a cough and a headache for RG, Romeo Girl. Now we have another RG, they're two separate people. RG again, but a different RG. Resolution of a financial problem where they're being cheated. So RG, another person, RG, Romeo Girl. The prayer request is for a resolution of a financial situation that is taking advantage of this person incorrectly, illegally. Okay, so that's done. Is anything going to happen with Biden and the pardoning of his son, like a reversal or anything? No, it's done. It's over with. It happened. The Sarasot is hiding in underground bunkers very carefully these days because they would love to get their hands on him. But, and it could happen. He might eventually go into exile into Iran or Syria or Russia, I don't know. I'm just going through everything and deleting it so I make sure I cover everything. If no reinforcements of substance get into Syria, the rebels are going to have it taken over in days. The bombing is not going to bring a victory for Syria. I don't think it was Israel that really hit the Iranian convoys because that would cause too much blow up. If the Americans do it, it's not going to blow up. I'm going to take a quick break. I've got to go check on the dog, Chief, the old dog we've been praying for. I don't know what he's barking about. He might have got himself stuck someplace. And I'll be right back. Give me a minute. We'll get into the Bible work on how the nations get destroyed in Jeremiah 30, verse 11. With the scriptures, it's very plain. chief is able to climb up the steps now, but he doesn't like going down. He has a bad eye, like me, and his depth perception is off. So I brought him down and put him in the sun, and I think he's needed the sun to warm up and stuff like that. Okay, so let's get into it. First thing we'll start is what the two witnesses do when Israel's under the siege in Zechariah 12. And they don't, as you'll soon see, they don't destroy the nations per se. It's in 6, Jeremiah 12:6. In that day will I make the governors the chiefs. God says he's going to run Israel with the judges again in Isaiah 1. Judges are prophets. We have 2 prophets to go. Plus Yeshua returns. He's a prophet in a way also, but many other things. But Revelation 11 tells us the 2 witnesses are prophets. Okay, so it's them, because the judge is typically a prophet. So the chiefs or the judges of Judah, okay, in that day I will make the, let's say, judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. Well, who do you know has fire coming out of their mouth? Got it? It's not hard. Church doesn't teach this. That's not my fault. That's their fault. And if you sit under them, it becomes your fault for listening to them. If the blind follow the blind, they both go in the pit. The pit, not the ditch. It's the pit. And he says it twice because there's 2 witnesses. And they shall devour, the better translation is burn up, all the people, and that's correct, people round about, on the right hand and on the left. Now the word for people is Hebrew Strong's number 5971, and it's Am. And it's generally not used for nation. Okay, Strong's interprets it, his first choice is a people, a congregated unit. Specifically, it could be a tribe, troops, attendants, a flock. It's not generally used for a nation. Okay, let's get it deeper into that. Shall burn up all the nations round about. That would be the word goyim or something. It's not the right word for that. It's those that are assembled in the siege against Jerusalem. It's the people, persons, military, that kind of thing, round about, on the right hand and on the left. And then they've twisted it a little bit, and it really says, and Jerusalem shall remain still in her own place, even in Jerusalem. They want to make you think that Jerusalem was taken over to screw you up so you can't get prophecy straight. That's not what the Hebrew says. Okay? So the people get burned up, not the nations. And even if it was the nations, which it's not, it would just be those round about. It wouldn't be all the nations he scattered the Israelites into, which would be North and South and Central America and the Caribbean and all of Europe and the Middle East and parts of Asia and all that. No, it wouldn't be that. Okay? So that's not how the nations get destroyed. Okay, some of you might say, where does it say the nations get destroyed? Well, in 2 places, it's almost the same scripture. It's never been fulfilled yet. It's fulfilled in these days. Isaiah 46:28. Fear thou not, O Jacob, my servant, And the word for servant is abed. It could mean a slave or a servant. A servant. Jacob is referencing the 12 tribes. His 12 sons were the ones the 12 tribes were named after. Saith Jehovah, for I am with thee. Okay. I will make a full end of all the nations whither I have driven thee. But I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure, yet will I not leave thee altogether unpunished. Well, we've been punished plenty since 1948. All right, so it says, okay, let's break the Hebrew down and see what it's really saying. It says, for, all right, that word there is key, because maybe, or something like that. Okay. With the word, let's go up to verse 28, the beginning. Fear, that word is yarah, rather, yarah. It's basically a fear, frightened word. It's okay. Translated, no problem. Thou not, O Yaakov, my servant, saith Jehovah. This is the word from Father God, Jehovah. And then it says because, and then it says I, and the word for I is correct, and the. Then it says am with. So it really says ani rather. Et. So it's saying I with, not am. It says I with. The word these not there. Ani et, I with. For or because. So he's saying I'm with. The word is added in, but by implication it's probably about right. Because, and then it says I will make. Now let's get the words there. Asa, and that's more or less not really bad. Let's see what Strong's does with it. I will do or make. Make's okay. The word full end, that word in Strong's is kala. It's a very strong word. It's Strong's number 3617. And the meaning of that would be completely or destruction. So for it to say completely, it would be make completion of all the nations. Make a destruction of all the heathen nations, whither I have driven thee, but I will not make a, you see, full end or complete destruction of thee, but correct thee in measure. I will not leave thee wholly unpunished. See, we've been busted up with missiles and stuff like that, terrorist attacks, but it's not a full end of us, but it says he's going to make a full end. Okay, let's get that a little more precisely. It says here in the middle of that verse, it says, for I will make, and the word I is not there for, you could say make, for make, but it's him saying he's going to do it. Okay? They put the word I will and stuff like that in there to make it read better in English. Okay? I think it's okay translated. So he's going to destroy the nations. Now, we're going to be developing this a lot deeper than that. Now let's go into Jeremiah 30:11. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee. And that word is salvation, Yasha, the root of Yeshua's name, to salvation thee. Though I make, it says, make a full end, a complete destruction of all heathen nations. It can't be the heathens, because he says he scattered the Israelites into them. You can't be scattered into people. He's scattered into the heathen nations. But I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So it's basically saying the same thing. That's in Jeremiah 30:11. Because if you go, let's say, to Jeremiah 30:10, let's read that. We'll work backwards. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will salvation you from afar, that's those living abroad, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Yaakov shall return, and shall be at rest, and shall be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Well, that hasn't happened yet. Not all. Now let's go up higher. To verse 5. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling and of fear. So let's forget this church narrative of the man of sin is coming with a 7-year peace covenant. Forget that. That's for 60-something years down the road. And we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Okay, so forget your peace theories with the church. They're a waste of time listening to the churches. Okay, verse 6. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. They're scared. There's no man of sin and peace showing up. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. That's not Gog and Magog. They don't get saved out of it. Here they get saved out of it. This is Zechariah 12. But it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of armies, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and I will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. Well, this is Biden saying, then Yahoo, you better listen or I'll withhold the weapons and stuff. You see, this is what that is. But thou shalt serve Jehovah Elohim and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Now, that's the anointed prince in the next temple. And if you don't believe me, read Ezekiel 45. And he'd be from the line of David. David shall not lack a man to sit on the throne. This is pre-Yeshua, okay, returning to earth. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith the Lord. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for I will save thee, salvation thee from afar. Okay, so we covered that, all right? So this is the travail word, which is the birth of the nation in a day, which happens when you see the appearing of the Son of Man. So we know these nations get it. Now let's get more precise so we could find scripture that shows us exactly what's going on, how they're going to get it. let's go to Jude 1:7. There's only one, so you could just say Jude verse 7, but okay. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them, in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Let's check that word for eternal fire. It means perpetual, and the word for fire is so he's saying they're going to spend eternity in the lake of fire, but all right, but fire's coming up. Let's keep going. Now we'll go to 2 Peter 2:6. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample or example unto those that after should live ungodly, and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. Jehovah knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. Now let's go to verse 6 again. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly lives. So that's how this was an example to them as to what's going to happen to them if they live ungodly lives, which the whole world is doing. You got this? It'll get closer to it. Isaiah 13:19, I think. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. Now, the Arabians pitching the tent there is a definite clue as to who's going to be invading America, which is Babylon. This is not the old Babylon. The old Babylon, when Cyrus came with his army, tried to attack them outside the gates, they repelled him. He told his soldiers to dig 28 tributaries to the river going under the wall of Babylon. They dug all night. The river going under the wall dried up. They walked under the fence, and the people in Babylon woke up in the morning and they were captured. There was no burning of it. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And it says in Jeremiah 50:51, he will kindle fires in and around their cities. I'll find that verse for you. Jeremiah 50:32. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around about him. That's how the daughter of Babylon gets it. Now, it gets invaded and looted and pillaged, and they kill a lot of people. And then at some point this happens too. Probably after the looting, or there would be nothing to loot. You, the true believers, like Lot, will be delivered. Like Lot and his family. His family were delivered, and they weren't all real righteous people, were they? You and your whole house shall be saved. So, you can, how exactly that's going to fulfill for every person, I have no idea. It depends how bad the people are, too, I guess. Luke 17:28. Likewise also, as was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. That's it. It's right there on a silver platter, a gold platter, a platinum platter, whatever. When he's revealed, is not to return to earth. That's when the sun goes dark, the moon turns to blood, and he appears in the clouds as lightning from east to the west, and every eye shall see him, Revelation 1:7. And those that are believers will have eternal life when they see him, because he will be like him. 1 John 3:2, Matthew 24:30, Revelation 1:7, Zechariah 12:10, John 6:40. You could read all those scriptures and you'll put it together. And the church doesn't teach this, and that's not my fault. That's their fault, and your fault if you sit under them. So that explains why I was so stumped as to how Central South America are going to get it. They're not actively in wars, but they are living very unrighteously there. Oh my gosh, only ever. And I believe the Jews were scattered into every country in North, South, Central, and America and the Caribbean, and all of Europe, and a lot of the Middle East. And they're going to get it. This way, burning. He's going to burn them up. So other wars are going to destroy them all. Well, this destruction happens on the time when Yeshua appears in the clouds, which is Zechariah 12:10. And Revelation 1:7 and Matthew 24:30 and other places. You have to learn there's a difference between him returning to earth with New Jerusalem, the beast and the false prophet getting thrown into the lake of fire alive, the first residents and all that, and Yeshua coming on a white horse with the garment stained blood, with millions of angels from heaven on white horses with swords, and him appearing in the sky seated at the right hand of God the Father. Okay, that's the revealing when he appears in the clouds. It's not the return. And that's when the moon goes dark and the sun, the moon turns to blood and the sun goes dark. When the sun and the moon go dark and the stars don't give the light and fall like figs from the fig tree, that is the end of all the troubles for Israel. That's the end of their second 70 of Daniel 9:24. It doesn't say 70 weeks, it says 70 in every Hebrew manuscript. Okay, so it's going to happen by fire. Does that mean that Elam's not going to be destroyed by her enemies? No, they will. Because that's not God sending fire. Do you got it? Some of these other countries may get destroyed differently. Let's go through Jeremiah 49 and see what we can glean from this, okay? This was a big revelation. Jeremiah 49. I don't know why I'm tired today. I slept good, don't get it. Verse 1. Concerning the Ammonites, that's northern Syria, thus saith Jehovah, hath Israel no sons, hath he no heir? Why then doth the king inherit God and his people dwell in his cities? Well, they're squatting in the land that belongs to Israel, and they're pumping the oil out of said land and living rich and have no intention of ever letting Israel have their own inheritance and so forth. So doom and gloom on them, right? The year of recompense over the controversy of Zion, Isaiah 34:8. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall. Now, that's not an alarm of war, is not God burning it up. A desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burned with fire. Then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith the Lord. So we get the land, is what it's saying in Old English. But now it's also talking about being burned up. See? It's not so simple. Let's check the words for burned up. Yitzat. Yeah. It's reasonably correct. Could also mean a desolate, but it wouldn't say daughters desolate, no. So maybe he burns that place up too, I don't know. They're worshiping false gods and everything. It shall be a desolate heap. Let's go back. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites. So the alarm of war may not be a war, but that's kind of illogical. Let's see. that there's a war and they also get burned up. Need more clarification on that, but it appears that both happen there. So they might get into a war and then it gets burned up. You know. Okay, let's keep going. Howl, O Heshbon, for I is spoiled. Cry, you daughters of Rabbah. Gird you with sackcloth. Lament and run to and fro by the hedges, for their king shall go into captivity, and his priests and his princes together. That means they leave the land. Wherefore gloriest thou in the valley, thy flowing valley, O backsliding daughter, that trusteth in her treasures, saying, who shall come unto me? That's not Israel, it's still Jordan area. Ammon's the capital of Jordan now. Behold, I will bring a fear upon thee, saith Adonai Yehovah, of armies, from all those that be about thee, and you shall be driven out, every man right forth, and none shall gather up him that wandereth. So they're driven out of their land. That doesn't sound like a fire, but it could be a fire. And it lends itself more to armies, because then it says, those that be about thee. So that sounds like military. And afterward I will bring again the captivity of the children of Ammon, saith Jehovah. Yeah, they eventually serve Israel and they make it. So maybe that happened in the past and they're going to be serving Israel again. In these days, Ammon, North Jordan, does serve Israel and has peace with Israel and prospers. Concerning Edom, which we call Yemen, thus saith Jehovah of armies, is wisdom no more in Taman? That's what they call it, Yemen now, Taman. There's no Yemen in Hebrew, it's Taman. It's Edom. No more in Taman, a counsel perish, from the prudent is their wisdom vanished. Yeah, they're completely out of their minds over there. Flee you, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, that's Saudi Arabia, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time when I will visit him. Okay. I don't think Esau burned up the time that I will visit him. That's Saudi. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning of grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare, and I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. That's interesting. So they'll probably get reared in Israel or something. The widows may marry Israelites, I don't know. But it sounds more like war if there's fatherless children that you're supposed to leave. Let's see the word leave. What does that mean? Leave. For thus saith Jehovah, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink the cup have assuredly drinken, and art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. That's not Israel. For I have sworn by myself, saith Jehovah, that Bozrah shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual wastes. That sounds like fire. That's in Edom, that's Yemen. I have heard a rumor from the Lord, from Jehovah, and an ambassador is sent unto the Goyim, saying, gather you together and come against her and rise up to the battle. So that's the end of Yemen. It is a battle. And the Lord, a rumor from Jehovah, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen nations, saying, gather you together and come against her and rise up to the battle. So somebody's going to gather forces of different nations to come and finish off Yemen. They keep attacking the shipping, closing the Red Sea. It's very easy to understand. The time for that is ripe now because Iran's all screwed up. And so's Russia. Now I'm in verse 15. For lo, I will make thee small among the Goyim, and despised among men. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldst make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith Jehovah. Okay, that's Yemen or Edom. Also Edom shall be a desolation. Every one that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. So they really get hit. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Jehovah, no man shall abide there, neither shall the Son of Man dwell in it. So after the war, it may have the fires. Nobody dwells in it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion. Or maybe it just gets destroyed by the war, I'm not sure. But it could be both. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan, against the habitation of the strong, but I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is the chosen man, that I may appoint over her? For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of Jehovah that he hath taken against Edom, and his purpose that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the feast of the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, at the cry of the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. So Edom, Yemen is next to the Red Sea. So it's not they're not going to see the smoke of their fire. They're going to hear the noise of their fall. They're being attacked. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Bozrah. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs, birth pangs again. Could be a clue to timing, the day of travail, perhaps, Not sure on that one, maybe not. Probably not. So, concerning Damascus, here we go, Syria, the capital of Syria. Hamath is confounded, and Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. I don't know about the sorrow of the sea, but the other stuff is going on. Okay, they have heard evil tidings. Yeah, the rebels are coming for them. That's pretty evil, right? They are faint-hearted. Well, they're running away. They're in retreat. There is sorrow on the sea. I don't think that happened yet. Damascus is waxed feeble and turneth herself to flee. But we're seeing that a little bit, not in its fullness at all. And fear hath seized on her. Again, we're seeing this to some extent. Anguish and sorrow have taken her as a woman in travail, back to their birthday, the day of birth. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? That was David ruled out of Damascus. That's Damascus. The city not left. Let's break those words down. It's lo, which means no. And the word left, atzav. Wait a minute. Left words got me a little concerned what it really means here. It means loosen. The city of praise not loosen. The city of my joy. All right. Therefore her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off. Okay, that's a war in Syria, not a fire right here. So her young men shall fall in her streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off. So now you know what's going to happen in Syria. You see, the church don't know nothing. They don't want to teach them nothing. In that day, saith Jehovah of hosts, and I will kindle a fire in the walls of Damascus. There's the fires too. See, he's hitting them with both. It says, I will kindle a fire. Well, it really says kindle, esh, fire, wall, Damascus. Does that say Damascus? Damask. Damask is Damascus in English, yeah. And the fire shall consume the palaces of Benhadad. Concerning Kedar, and concerning the kingdom of Hazor, all right, Kedar. Let's see. This descendants of Ishmael, Arabs, concerning the kingdom of Hazor. It's north of Jerusalem in Judah. No, there's an Arab, in Arabia, there's a Hador, Saudi Arabia, I guess, which Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, shall smite. Thus saith Jehovah, arise, you go up to Kedar and spoil the men of the east, their tents and their flock shall they take away. So they loot and plunder and pillage it. They shall take to themselves their curtains, I guess the rugs they hang up on the walls and stuff, and all their vessels and their camels. I guess this is the Saudis. They got, very expensive camels and horses. They race them and stuff. And they shall cry unto them, fear is on every side. That sounds like war, because they're taking stuff away. Flee, get you far off, dwelleth deep, O you inhabitants of Hazor. Saudi Arabia, I guess. Saudi Arabia, saith Jehovah, for Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, hath taken counsel against you, and hath concerned a purpose against you. See, it says in Jeremiah 50:51, this Nebuchadrezzar, and that means the current day president of America, not the old one. So he's referring to that here, in my opinion. Arise, get you up unto the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith Jehovah, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwell alone. And their camels shall be a booty, and the multitude of their cattle. They got expensive $1 million Brahmin bulls and racing camels and all that stuff, a spoil. And I will scatter unto all winds them that are in the utmost corners, and I will bring their calamity from all sides thereof, saith the Lord. Let's look up the word calamity. It sounds like the looting is an attack. Oppression, calamity. And Hazor shall be a dwelling for dragons and a desolation forever. There shall no man abide there, nor any son of man dwell there. See, they keep saying, we want a Palestinian state before we normalize with Israel. Okay, this is the end of that. It's our land there anyway, but we'll probably, so to speak, inherit a lot of land, but we can't live in it because it's been so totally destroyed. So the word of, I guess, because it says from the Euphrates to the Nile, the word of Jehovah that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam, and that is Iran, Iraq, and Syria. In the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, that's when the prophecy was given, not the time it's for. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. The chief of their might is the bow or the missile launcher, and the arrows of the missile. Behold, I will break the bow of Elam. That's the missile launcher, the bow, and the arrow is the missiles. The chief of their might, drones would be pretty similar, but it's really the missiles. That's the chief might of Syria, Iraq, and Iran. That's what they attack us with, their missiles. And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them towards those winds. And there shall be no nation, neither there shall be no nation whither or where the outcasts of Elam shall not come. This is what they wanted for us, the Saudis and Elam. Run them out of Israel into the nations, and then we'll have the Muslims will just pick them off wherever they go. For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies. So it's enemies that get Iran, Iraq, and Syria, and before them that seek their life. It's sounding like the rebels. The Americans wouldn't seek to kill them. The Americans would just put them down and then, give them financial aid and build them up economically. Sounds like the rebels, no? And I will bring evil upon them, even thy fierce anger, saith Jehovah, and I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. So they're going to go into every nation in a captivity, and then the sword will chase them and kill them, which is what they wanted for Israel. And I will set my throne in Elam. That means the throne is where he judges. He's going to do judgment in Elam. And will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith and I will set my throne, the judgment, destroy from thence the king. I guess that would be the Ayatollah Khomeini, the king of Syria, and whoever the heck is the jerk running Iraq, and the princes, saith Jehovah. That would be the other political people, Congress, the big judges, generals, and stuff, the millionaires, billionaires. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith Jehovah. So that's towards the end of the second 70. They return, or some point in time between now and the second 70 being over, they return to Elam, these countries, and that becomes Persia, which is in the attacking Gog and Magog. And the close of the ending of the attacking Gog and Magog is the moon goes dark, not the blood, the sun goes dark, and the stars fail to give their light, and they fall like figs from the tree, and you can read that in Jeremiah 2. So the start of the second 70 is when Yeshua is appearing, when he's revealed in the clouds, seated on the right hand of his Father. That is when, I believe before that, the moon will go to blood and the sun will go dark. And then when the second 70 of Daniel 9:24 is over, the moon goes dark, the sun goes dark, and the stars fall and fail to give their light, and that's the return of Yeshua to earth. When the false prophet and the beast get thrown alive into the lake of fire. The talking statue, just you break it up. It's not a living thing. It's just a joke. It doesn't go into the lake of fire because it's not a person. It's a statue. Okay, let's take a look at the live stream. I don't know if Trump's going to be the next Nebuchadnezzar or it'll be Biden yet. I'll soon figure it out, I guess, as we progress in end times, but I don't know. New Zealand, huh? Okay, well, I thought we'd have more people today, but that opened it up. And with Lebanon, what do we read in Lebanon? Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. Well, that could mean the fire from the Lord, right? They've already had their wars, they didn't do too good. So, pray for me to have strength and endurance and stamina today. I don't know why I was knocked out. I felt really good, slept good. But, I don't know. I don't feel bad. I just don't feel like I got all my energy. I don't know why. Maybe I need more red light today. Go get myself another treatment. Okay. So basically, that's what I got for today. I thought it was a lot. It's a little, but it's quite a lot, and it should have opened up a lot of stuff for you. So let's keep really focused on the situation in Syria, Iraq, and Iran right now with Russia and all the other stuff going on over there. Okay, America, let's keep watching. And I'll keep trying to open it up more and more for you and keep telling you what's going on. So please pray for Chief continually, the dog. He's getting better, but he can go further, okay? He doesn't go down steps yet. Well, he can, and he does occasionally. But let's pray for him to get better vision and better mobility. Chief, prayer for better vision, better mobility. And pray for me and my wife that we be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for healing for my wife continually, please. She is improving rather nicely. Please keep the prayers up. It's going pretty good. And pray for me to resolve any issues with payment processors, really pray not to have any problems with them. And pray for better videos, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the people that should watch this video to watch it. These videos, not just this one, these videos. And pray I reach more of the unchurched. And pray for the Lord to show mercy on Israel very soon and launch the 2 witnesses. But the big emphasis is pray for the Lord to pour his mercy on Israel, which includes the scattered tribes and all the true believers. Pray for that. I think it would be a good idea, really strong idea. And ask the Lord to do it as soon as possible. Don't try to dictate to him when to do it. Just pray to do it as soon as possibly work it out. Not that he can't do it, but he has a plan. Just pray for as soon as possible, I think. He'll know what we mean. And I hope you got something out of this. And pray for our finances. Would help. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and we'll keep you updated. I'm going to be doing lots of updates on the Telegram, and when something big happens, I'll jump up on YouTube and do some emergency live streams. And I'm out. Thank you. Oh, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. I think I said that already.